Here is another percent problem. This one is one where we're going to find the percent, and this one is a little tricky. So we're going to read it first, of course. Sam was making desserts for a party. He wanted half of them to be brownies, 30 of them to be cookies, and 50 of them to be cupcakes. What percent of the desserts will be cupcakes? Okay, so this is going to be a couple steps. So let's figure out what information is necessary to solve it. Okay, so he wanted half of the desserts to be brownies, and then 30 of them are going to be cookies, and 50 of them are going to be cupcakes. So we have 30 and 50. So I'm just going to make a little note. Half are brownies. 30 will be cookies. And 50 will be cupcakes. So if this makes up all of the cupcakes, all of the desserts, that's 100% of the desserts. So all of these together equals 100% of desserts. Okay? So first, in order to figure out what percent are cupcakes, we really need to figure out how many desserts there are first. And we have enough information to figure that out. We know that 30 and 50 will make up half of the desserts, because half of the desserts are brownies and the other half are these. So other half. Okay? So if 1/2 equals 80, then the other half will also equal 80, because 1/2 and another half equals 1 whole. So since we have 1/2 is 80, 80 plus 80 plus 80, 160. Okay, so 160 desserts all together. So now that we have that information, we can figure out what percent of the desserts are going to be cupcakes. Okay? We'll change colors. So again, I'm going to, just like before, I'm going to use a proportion. Remember, a proportion is 2 equal fractions or 2 equal ratios. I'm going to use a proportion to solve this problem. So this right here, where it says what percent, if you ever do a word problem, a percent word problem, and it says what percent, you automatically know that half of your proportion is going to be X out of 100. Because all percents are out of 100, and we don't know the percent, it says what percent. So if you're being asked for a percent, that's the one that you don't, that's your unknown. That's what you don't know, and you do know that percents are always out of 100, so it would be what I don't know out of 100. And that's going to be equal to, well, we want to know what percent of the desserts are cupcakes. So if we want to know what percent are cupcakes, that's what's going to go across here. You can even do another part of the proportion that would be part to whole, because 100% is the whole thing, and the part is how many cupcakes, because we want to figure out how many cupcakes. What percent? We know how many cupcakes, so since we know that it's 50, that goes across from the X, because X represents the percent of cupcakes. So the 50. And then the whole numbers, remember this is percents, this is actual numbers. This one we figured out was 160. Okay? So now this one is a little bit tricky because 100 doesn't fit evenly into 160. So now I'm going to show you another math thing called cross multiplication. So we can use cross multiplication to solve for x, to figure out what x is. And cross multiplication is when you multiply the numbers that are across from each other. And the numbers that are across from each other, when they're multiplied together, they equal each other. So let me explain that a different way. That's probably sounded confusing. So 100 times 50 is equal to 160 times x. And you write 160 times x just like this. When there's a variable right next to a number, it's being multiplied by it. Okay? So 100 times 50 is 1 times 5 is 5, and then you just add all the zeros, equals 160x. And so this is like a mini algebra lesson too. This is a lot of information in this one video. Right here, we know that 160 is being multiplied by x. So we know 160 times x equals 5,000. So that means 160 times something equals 5,000, which also means 5,000 divided by 160 equals x. It's like a little fact family right there. You do your little fact family triangles. So now we have to solve for x. So we can do 5,000 divided by 160. I'm going to try to do it down here. So 160 into 500, maybe 3, I think 3. 16 times 3, 160 times 3, 3 times 0, 18, 48, 480. So 160, we put it above the 0 because we divided it into 500. 480. And that's 20, oops, 10, and then bring down the 0. And 160 into 200 is just going to go once. And get 160. I knew I was going to run out of room. So that's 40. We subtract. And now we got to keep going, because I always tell you guys to go 3 digits past the decimal. And since this is not ending, I don't want you to write 31 and 40 remainder percent. That's not how we do it. So we're gonna keep going. So we got to put a decimal, and add a 0. And so 16 into 400, well, it went into 480 exactly 3 times, so we'll do twice. And then 2 times 160, 220. I'm going to continue it up here. Zero, 3. Ooh, wait a minute. Why am I? Did I do that wrong? I think I did that wrong. Oh, this is a 3. There, 3. I knew I did that wrong. Okay, 8. Okay, so then 80. And then if we added another 0, brought it down, 800. So 160 into 800, probably 5. 160 times 5, 0, 6 times 5. Oh my gosh, that's nice. Fits in. Phew, now we're done. Okay, so it fit in 5 times. Okay, so this now is x. So x equals, remember, 5,000 divided by 160 equals x, and 5,000 divided by 160 is 31.25. So 30, since x was above 100, that was our percent, 31.25% are cupcakes. Whew, that was a long one.